Recently, I made a video on the best Warhammer models in existence, and it turns out I made a pretty big mistake. I listed a load of great old Warhammer models, and the people in the comments gave me loads of great suggestions. But we all forgot the greatest model ever made. A model so popular it was entered into the Olden Demon painting competition a whopping 5 times this year. What is this model? I'm going to tell you. But first, in some regions, the phrase "Are you interested in vintage lead?" is code to gain access to underground cockfighting clubs. In others, it's an invitation to a public toilet that gets low foot traffic. But for viewers of this channel, vintage lead means it's time to discuss the winners of the Olden Demon Painting Competition 2024. To catch everyone up, the idea is simple. People take old Games Workshop miniatures from before the turn of the millennium, lavish them with the advanced painting techniques of modern day competition painting, but keep a retro feel by adding a green base if possible. Although, as you will see, the green base rule, much like my moral compass, is highly flexible. This painting competition has become so successful that Games Workshop have been copying it for their own Golden Demon competition in the UK for the last 36 or so years. Hello? Yes? It's not happening in the UK this year. Thank you. Well, looks like I'm the only game left in town. This year, I'd like to thank Artis Opus for kindly sponsoring the competition. The winners of each category are going to be walking home with one of their lovely paint sets that consist of 4 brushes and some brush soap. And the second and third place entrants will be receiving a size 3 paintbrush. I've supported Artis Opus since their first Kickstarter and use a lot of their brushes myself, so I'm very happy to be giving out the most luxurious paintbrushes on the market as part of this competition. If you want to surprise the loved one in your life, why not buy yourself a set of Artis Opus brushes, wrap them up, and then pretend to be surprised when you discover them on the table one morning. It's the only way they'll learn. Link in the description below. The top 3 in each category will also receive a classic Olden Demon winners card. These cards never photograph correctly, but they are designed to resemble the classic Golden Demon commended winners cards. However, as Games Workshop have upgraded their cards to have acrylic holders this year, I'm more than a little bit jealous. If you have any idea how I can make something like that without paying Wicked Brick a huge amount of money, let me know in the comments so I can upgrade mine accordingly. Also, if you're a company that wants to sponsor next year's competition, or if you want to help me make one of those, then drop me an email in the comments and we can sort something out. One final point before we start the show. This year there's been a slight change to the competition. Instagram is terrible. I could leave that sentence there, but I should probably elaborate. On the last day in 2023, it decided to shadow ban posts using the Olden Demon hashtag. Presumably, the 300 or so people who entered caused some kind of emergency at Meta HQ. Therefore, I had to sort through people's stories to make sure everyone was entered correctly. However, this year I have a brand new form made by the finest technical mind in the wargaming sector. A true paragon of the space, who has been working silently to ensure a brighter future for everyone. That man is Matt Avis. His tendrils are everywhere, like an all-wise and powerful coding octopus of the hobby. I borrowed a meme to commemorate him. I hope he likes it and it's shown to him on the next Cult of Paint podcast, and that everyone in the live chat tells him how great he is and he blushes and acts all coy. If you want to support his work, and you should, sign up for the Golden Demon Compendium's Patreon link in the description below and secure the internet's archive of miniature painting. But with no further ado, let's start the show. This year we have an amazing 291 entrants. Pretty much evenly split between sci-fi and fantasy, and the quality is absolutely outstanding. The amount of people who are now attempting techniques that were rare last year is incredible. We have things like skin texture and secondary lighting, and that has made my job as judge a complete pain. So to try and help, I took all the miniatures and separated them into a pool of models that needed a second look. After I'd finished this early first pass, I'd picked out over 40 models. This would be everyone who was at least commended. Then I went through that pool and separated out the models that would be finalists. Then I went through the finalist entries with a fine tooth comb and my most pedantic nitpicking face on to pick out the top 3. And then on the following day I changed my mind, so I did it all again. These are the commended entries. In Olden Demon they would receive a commended card, but sadly I do not have the knowledge, talent or budget. So instead I'll just show off everyone who got commended instead and leave it at that. These are presented in no particular order. First up for fantasy, we have Steve Kind with Growler the Squighound, Matthew Black with an Orc big on the Standard Bearer, Volker Hearns with Anir the Sword of Twilight, Lee Hebelthwaite with Bertrand Librigand, Jose Garcia with Teclis, Danny Langridge with a Bretonian Foot Knight, Raphael Boyden with the White Dwarf, Bogdan Aoun with the Green Terror, Oscar Hager with Odgit the Goblin Shaman, Anvil of Doom with a Troll Slayer, Frederick Liebeck with a Marauder Giant. Next up for sci-fi, we have Matt Avis with a Blood Angel Space Marine, Alexandra Gill with a Valhallan Ice Warrior, Maxime Pastorel with a Plastic Dark Elder, Mike Latter with the Primarch Lehman Russ, Old Grumpy Wolf with a Space Wolf Terminator, Maxime Corbel with Dredgemech Blitzcard, David Beachy with a Genestealer Cult Magus, Joel Pete with a Space Wolf Bloodclaw, Simon Bessomes with a Fire Dragon Exarch, Ted Ringdal with Nazgrab Wurzag, Timo Saucer with an Elder Harlequin, and finally James Bowler with a Cadian Shock Trooper Lieutenant. There were some great entries in that batch, and if you think those were really cool, then get ready to have the socks completely blown off of your feet, because here come the finalists. In Golden Demon, these are the models that will receive an awesome little pin badge, but I can go one better. In Olden Demon, thanks to the style of this format, I can give everyone a slightly longer look at your miniature with your name at the bottom. As this video is uploaded to YouTube in 4K quality, because I don't really understand all the buttons on my video rendering software, you can take a screenshot of that image, take it to a company that offers Glycee printing, and have several pictures made up with different paper finishes. Then you could take them to work and replace the professional shots your place of work had done for the whole team to make the company look professional. They paid that photographer a day rate of at least £500 to do that work, but who cares? It's not your money, right? Insist that your boss bends to your will. Tell them that you'll resign if they don't. Then after that, you could find some household images of your partner, or maybe a deceased family pet, and replace them with your images. In fact, let's clear some space now, get this tat off the fridge. The kids will have to learn there's limited space for art in this world, and in this game, it's survival of the fittest. Or whatever you like, ultimately, it's up to you. Here are the finalists, in no particular order. For the fantasy category, we have Axel Olsen with a Squighopper, Darren Latham with a Marauder Dwarf Spearman, Sten Frodin with a High Elf Mage, Paul McCabe with a Marauder Giant, Fabio with Gorgut from Lair of the Orc Lord, James Southernwood with a Black Orc. And for sci-fi, our finalists are Steve Kind with a Screamer Killer Carnifex, Matt Sturbens with a Blood Angel Sergeant, William Elliott with a Space Wolf Grey Hunter, Hendarian with an Elder Harlequin, and John Murphy with a Space Marine Captain. These were all fantastic, and I really did have to go into little details and start splitting hairs to whittle out the final three. Also, if you're still wondering what that best ever miniature is, you're about to see it, or at least two of it. So this is it, the big reveal of our winners. Before we bring this home, you're all winners. But some people are more winners than others, and those special winners are the great folks who have signed up for my Ko-fi account to support the channel and therefore the future of miniature wargaming, painting, and the entire hobby in general. If Golden Demon isn't happening in the UK this year, I'm all you've got. Forever. Apart from the Miniature Painting Open, and Salute, and the Fen Model Show, and SMC, and Monty, and some others. Anyway, let's look at the podium. In third place for fantasy, we have Maxime Corbet with a White Dwarf. I know it's technically a model from 2003, but I have a rule where if you ask me about something and I accept, then you're allowed. That's just how it works, I'm afraid, so congratulations to Maxime. Also, look at his little face, his tiny little angry face. The miniature's face, that is, not Maxime's. Maxime looks pretty happy, I think. In second place, we have an Orc Warrior from Severo Meucci. This is truly an amazing job on a monopose plastic miniature. One of my favourite parts of this competition over the years is when a painter you have never heard of before turns up and blows you away with an incredible miniature. It's the second year in a row someone has turned up out of the blue with an exceptionally painted miniature from Warhammer Quest. Why has this game resulted in so many highly placed Olden Demon miniatures? who knows. The skin on this was fantastic. Doing a hyper-realistic paint job on such an old sculpt is an amazing achievement. If I could have seen the back of it, and if that base had been cleaned up, this could have taken first. But talk of the devil, drumroll please, in first place we have Nicholas Rubens Mortensen with a Chaos Champion. This is a model that flew under my radar until I looked in detail and I could pick out all the little details. It's just been done so well. You have so many parts that reveal themselves as you look over the model. The non-metallic metallic steel reflects its surroundings. There is a burst where the shield is reflecting the sun. There are multiple parts over the model where the metal is reflecting the golden trim. My favourite part is the blade of the axe. It's painted to a different finish to the weathered armour because it's a sharpened edge rather than beaten metal, and it has the reflection of the gold part against it. This is what an axe should look like. Incidentally, that gold part is the cheek of an axe. I didn't know that until I looked it up. This model made me learn something new. You don't get that every day. And of course, it has a classic Realm of Chaos 1998 fantasy base. If you like this style of painting, then Nicholas has a Patreon under the name NRM Paint, as well as several shots of his process on his Instagram, which I highly recommend checking out. Again, links in the description below. Well, that was amazing. But it's not all, because we still have the sci-fi category to go through, and again, these three models could have been separated with a piece of paper. In third place, we have Savero Meocci with an Elder Warlock. He's only gone and done it again, a top 3 placement in both categories in his first year. It's certainly going to save me a bit of postage on the prizes. This really stood out because of the subtle shading on the cloak from top to bottom. The gem in the centre with the white light dot looks truly amazing. And of course, that ultra shiny non-metallic effect mirrored finish of the Witchblade is incredible. Best sword blade in the competition for my money. In second place, brace yourself, it's Darren Latham, with his version of a Terminator Captain. I know it has no green base, and in fact it's a fairly modern design base, but if I'm going to bend my own rules, it's for this, especially as he's gone into the archives for his inspiration. The colour scheme is based on multiple pieces of art. Wayne England's Terminator, which was on the cover of White Dwarf 122, and also on the Deathwing expansion for Space Hulk. A couple of sketches from that rulebook, both were I believe only published in that expansion. Kev Walker from the Deathwing expansion for Space Hulk, and Jez Goodwin's artwork. How come this never got used again? Unless it's in one of his sketchbooks, in which case I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments. But back to the model, it is an exceptional piece before you realise that this is a model from the 80s, 1989 to be precise, 34 years ago. I'm not sure how this model looks as smooth as it does. The shading here is as clean as my browsing history. But finally, in the first place for the sci-fi category, we have Sten Frodin. It was really tight to separate one miniature from the pack, and any one of these 3 miniatures could have taken it, but I've given it to Sten's Elder Warlock. It's a combination of a high degree of difficulty combined with a high level of finish. Some points of interest are double shoulder yin-yangs, the reflection of the purple cloak onto the white room, the gems on the Witchblade, the slight glow in the black on the left-hand side of the helmet, which is mirrored with the highlighting around the light blue part above, and the most pedantic of all features that I noticed and was impressed with, the non-metallic metallic effect on the band around the left foot and the spots of reflected sunlight painted on it. It's incredible. This exact sculpt by Jez Goodwin was entered 5 separate times into the competition this year, and as of right now can still be picked up for a pretty cheap price on eBay, so get in now before the supply vanishes. You might spot the lack of a traditional base. However, he claimed that he has used goblin green to highlight the grass tufts, but let's face it, I've accepted worse. I'll be handing him a yellow card, and he better promise to add more green to his bases next year. Sten is truly the master of painting models with the sword point resting on the ground. And there we have it, 2024's competition is officially over. If you're interested, I'll be discussing all of this in the Crown of Command podcast soon if you'd like to listen to me desperately trying to justify what I've just done. Link in the description below. If this has inspired you to paint a miniature for next year, then don't wait. There were plenty of people who didn't finish their miniature this year, but they'll have another chance in 2025. And if you like this competition, sign up for my Ko-fi in the description below and secure the future of old Warhammer forever, or at least until my doctor's warnings about my cholesterol come to their inevitable conclusion. If you're looking for inspiration as to what miniature to paint for next year, try this video, and I'll see you next time.